Alright, so the other video cut off, so we're gonna kind of start fresh here. In the other video, I spoke about like our front end and our back ends. I spoke about like the scoreboard, the daily scoreboard. Right now, I'm just going through the levels because I need you guys to understand the systems that are in place and why they're in place and how it's not a system that is there to be relied on or depended on to make this happen. This right here is pretty much like the ladder that the kids go through as far as levels go in our gymnastics program. This is strictly gymnastics, girls ages 5 and up. This does not apply to ballet, doesn't apply to Ninja Zone. This is gymnastics, right? But this is just as an example to give you more insight on how we work things, on how much thought is really put into the things that you're being asked to do. And I think if you have more clarity on this, it's gonna be easier for you as a person to kind of hold yourself accountable more. Right now, I see that as a really big issue is there's not enough people out there in the gym holding themselves accountable and making sure that this is happening for the kids, right? Okay, so, sorry Bethany, hold on. Intro. Our intro classes are where our kids start off on. Any child that has, maybe they've never been to gymnastics before, or maybe they've never been to gymnastics elite before, like they're gonna start off in this intro class, and it's a total of 8 classes for 4 weeks, okay? So here's the thing to know about these kids, they really haven't bought yet. They really have not bought. Yes, there's been an exchange, there's been a transaction of money, but they've only paid for 8 classes. They're not committed to staying and moving into entry. They're not committed to staying into intermediate. There's no contract, there's no deposit, there's no nothing like that. It's really just pay for these classes, get this free uniform, come check us out, right? So I say that because this, to go from intro to entry, like it's really product related. It really doesn't have a lot to do. Yes, office sales and office sales efforts play a part in it, but it's not solely dependent on the sales efforts of the office to go from intro to entry. Like, believe me, if the product is good enough, they're gonna go from intro to entry, they're gonna sign up, they're gonna do the enrollment process, they're gonna pay the deposit, pay the membership fee, 3 months in advance, 6-month contract, whatever it is, they're gonna do it because the product is good enough. Just at this level. I'm not saying it has to be this like amazing, like you're getting into the Olympics product. No, it just has to be good enough to know that like, okay, those first 8 weeks, that's what they do with my kid. Just imagine what they can do in the next level for 3 months, in the next level for 6 months, right? So like, this is why I'm explaining it to you guys, because you do play a part in our conversions. Whether the kids go from trial basis to customer basis, front end basis, is reliant on the product. Okay? And then as we keep moving down, in order for them to go from the front end basis over to the back end basis, it is 100% dependent on the product. And the product is the class quality that you're giving, is the progress that you're giving or not giving, is the skill attainment that you're giving or not giving, right? That's the product. So, intro, 8 classes, 4 weeks. We have a fail-safe in place that on the 7th class, I'm gonna keep using that word, guys, fail safe. 7th class move up, which means that the fail safe is that office is on the 7th class of these 8 classes. They're gonna write a little note on your roster and remind you, it's the 7th class, it's time to move that child up. They're finishing up their 8 classes and there's no direction, right? If they get to the 8th class, still in this level, and they walk out the door, they're gonna walk out the door because there's no direction. No one is there telling them like, what's the next step? Where am I going next? Like, what do I do next? Like, there's no direction. If as a coach, you are moving them up, so this fail-safe is a scheduled move up. It's scheduled, it's dictated. It's somebody like, hello, coach, wake up, it's time to move up. It's dictated, it's not on your end. Now, if you were moving them up on the 6th class, on the 5th class, on the 4th class, that would be a coach-initiated move up. That would be on this end. You did the work. You went from intro to entry. You took them from intro to entry, not our system did. Our fail-safe just caught that kid. Okay, so now they're gonna go into entry. And this is gonna happen, guys. This is gonna happen regardless of whether that child is ready or not, right? 8 classes is, on my end, too long. Way too long. And Chris said this yesterday, but like any team coach will probably say this. At the level of things that they're doing in this level, we could probably get the kids to move up in maybe 3 to 4 classes max. That's half. That's slashing this in half, right? Because it's so basic, and it's basic enough to where if you keep your intensity up and your passion up as a coach, they'll get there in 4 classes. Because it's like at this level, we're really just introducing them into positions, into terminology into shapes, like the different shapes that they're going to go through in their career. And just basic. I think the hardest thing in this intro thing is doing a forward roll. And how many kids can walk in and on their first day do a forward roll, right? So it's super easy. This is a fail-safe. Right now, these are majority of our move-ups. The fail-safes, the office reminders, the office-initiated ones are the majority of our move-ups currently right now. It's September of 2018. You might be watching this video in 2019, and it might be completely turned around, right? But right now, currently, there's not a lot of organic level climbing happening. Not a lot. There is, I'm not saying that there isn't, but it's just not the majority. Like right now on a mass basis, it's on this end. Instead of it being on this end, coach is tracking, coach is doing what they gotta do, listening to the trainings, applying the trainings, implementing things. Like that's how we're gonna get more organic growth. We want organic. This is not organic because it's like scheduled, it's dictated. This on this end would be organic, okay? So they go to entry. They go from intro to entry. This would also be our superstars. And the time allotted here, we decided was 3 months. Okay, 3 months. We'll just keep going and then I'll backtrack a little. Our intermediate and shining, which would be next, is a 6-month level. 6 months here. Our advanced and sparkling stars are going to be 9 months. Quick camera check. Good. Okay. And then it goes to elites, which should be 12 months, and then this is kind of open-ended. So 12 months here. You're going to hear this a lot in meetings. You're going to hear this as you come up into leadership. You're going to hear 3, 6, 9 so much. We talk about it so much, but that's what it is. This is what a 3, 6, 9 is. 3, 6, 9, the allotted time per level, okay? Guys, these aren't magic numbers. These aren't just numbers that we kind of like, 3 sounds good. Yeah, it's a good number. Like, no, this is what our lesson plans are based off. This is what our rotations are based off. This is what our play meets are based off. This is what like the system as a whole is based on. And it doesn't matter that we have kids starting like maybe the first week of January first week, we've got one kid starting their 3 months, and then the 4th week of January 4th week, we've got another kid starting their 3 months, right? Like it doesn't matter because within the 3 months, they're gonna hit everything that they need to hit to be ready to go on to this next level. And it's just up to you as a coach to step in, take ownership of it, and speed this up, slash it in half. That should be the goal. Slash it in half. How fast can I get this kid over here? So again, we have fail-safes in between that, again, office will knock. Write it on your attendance. You'll get a little reminder like, hey coach, don't forget, it's already coming up. This child is already on her 3rd month. You're out of time. You gotta move them up. We don't want that. We don't want office dictating who should move up and not, because this is not happening because office is watching classes and looking at your evaluation sheets and saying like, that kid is ready, why aren't they moved up? That's on your end as a coach because you touch those evaluations daily, and as a leader because you check those evaluations daily, right? It's not up to office, but office is gonna make sure that it happens because we're not gonna be okay with kids staying in entry for more than 3 months. We talked about that. The front end people don't stay at the facility. Our job is to get them from front end to back end. So in order to go to front end is up here, you gotta move them through this to get them to the back end, right? Okay, so same thing down here. You're gonna get a reminder. Knock, knock, knock. I'm gonna write it on your roster. Hey coach, you're running out of time. Like this kid's gotta move up. Same thing here. Knock, knock, knock. Hey coach, you're out of time, dude. Like this kid's gotta go to elite. We're about to lose them. They've gotta go to elite now. And you gotta do it. You gotta do it. And you're gonna do it knowing that that kid is not ready. But like, again, that is not that child's fault. That is not gymnastics elite's fault. That's not your leader's fault. That's not anybody's fault but your own. Okay? And that's the beautiful thing about all of this is that it's so intricately designed that if you just do what you're asked to do, this will happen organically. It's not going to take any like extra effort on your end. You're not going to have to devote hours to learning how to coach. You just got to do what you're told. You got to stick to the lesson plans. You got to be intense as a coach as far as like, and I don't mean intense like, what are you doing? Like that's not intense. Intense would be you having high energy and like being able to manage 8 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, for our superstars, whatever. Like, that's what I mean by intensity. I mean intensity because you're doing things with purpose, and you're doing things with intention, and you're not allowing your kids to work on the stations without intention and without purpose and without a goal. Like, you just don't allow that. When you're thinking about this, when you're figuring out, when you start trying to figure out how you're going to get your intro kids in half this time to get here, how you're going to get your entry kids in half this time to get here, when you start looking at it like that, you're going to start seeing how much sacrifices you were making when you weren't trying to do this, because you were allowing the kids to mess around, because you were allowing the kids to make the stations that are put in the lesson plans to help you do this. You're letting that child like make that irrelevant, not progress on that station, therefore not progress on that skill, therefore not progress on that event, therefore not progress in that level. Like, there's just so much that goes into it. So it's not even like we're asking you guys to figure out a lesson plan as to how you're gonna get these kids to be ready in 3 months, how you're gonna get, we're just asking you to stick to what you're given. Yes, it's gonna take a little research on your own, because I can give you the system. Like, I can take you from like 0 to 100 on how I get kids to go from not having a firm circle to having a firm circle. But unless you're me, and unless you're doing the things that I'm doing, and unless you build the class culture that I build, unless you do that stuff, my system is not gonna work for you, right? And I can guide you, and I can help give you direction. But what it really comes down to is you learning the skill, messing around with like, well, let me try getting her to do this, and let me try getting her to do this. Like, sometimes I hear coaches saying the same thing over and over again, and it's like, as a coach, you don't realize that they're not understanding you. Like, you could be coaching a handstand and you're telling them like, kick harder, you're not kicking hard enough, hey, you're not kicking hard enough, come on, you gotta kick harder. Doesn't matter if they don't understand it. Like, what else do you do? The goal is still there. That child that's not kicking up to a handstand still has to go from intermediate to advanced in 6 months. So you can't throw your hands up in the air and say like, well, like, at least if you were doing the lesson plans that we give you, you can say like, well, Becky, I'm doing what you asked me to do, and she's just not kicking harder. Oh, we can fix that. I can help you with that. But when you're not doing the lesson plans, and you're not asking questions, when you're not trying to figure it out on your own, you're a lost case, right? And I don't know if I said this in the video before, but like, this is what the job is. It really, really is. As a coach, as an entry-level coach, this is the job, right? We're here to do whatever we can to make that job easy for you, to give you the tools, to give you the resources, to give you the insight, to give you the passion, to give you the whatever you need. We're here for that. But if you were to go work at McDonald's, believe me, it would not be up to the guy building the hamburger to make sure that that hamburger is so good that that person is gonna go from buying one hamburger to coming back the next day to buy another hamburger. And then maybe they upgrade from a hamburger to like a double. And it's up to that person making the hamburger to make them upsell from regular hamburger to double hamburger. Like, that doesn't happen McDonald's, that doesn't happen in fast food, that doesn't happen in your average workplace. It doesn't. So if you're coming from a job like that, like, wake up, it's not like that. Or if your parents work in places like that, if your parents come from a average job, like, that needs to be crystal clear, because it's not for everyone, and that's okay. That's okay. But we have been lucky enough to spend so much time doing this and spending time with so many different people that do make this possible, that can do this, that do want to put the extra work in, that we're not worried about the ones that aren't willing to do that. Does that make sense? And I'm not trying to threaten anyone, but I'm just trying to keep it real, bring clarity, bring perspective to all this stuff, because this is not changing. It hasn't changed in years, guys. Like, this has changed in the last couple of months, but it didn't change. We just added a step. We made it easier to go from here to here. Before, without this, our kids were starting at this level. And then before that, go back to 2013, our kids were actually starting at this level. This was the entry level. But over time, we've done things to make it easier for the kids, to make it a steady climb instead of this giant step that they have to climb to get to the next level, okay? And then the last thing that I'm gonna go over, just for perspective, I'm red and blue, hopefully you guys can see, is if we were to classify these into actual USA Gymnastics levels, this one here would be level -1. This one here would be level 0. This one here would be level 1, finally, level 1. And there's some gyms out there that compete level 1. We don't. We don't compete level 1, we don't compete level 2, but there's gyms out there. Like, this is the first level where you can actually start competing, and the routine is made for you by USAG. It's not working. This is level 2. Our team starts competing off at level 3, which is elite. So by this time, actually, I'll do it in pink. Sorry with the colors. But like this right here, front end, back end, from this level, we should already start inviting them to team. Like the team invite comes here, which would fill our scoreboard on those 2 nightly ones. But in order to have the opportunity to get those 2, we need this giant funnel, like in perspective, to keep it proportionate. If we had 300 students in this level, we probably have like 75% go from here to here. So we would go down to like 250. I don't know. I'm not gonna do crazy math right now, but like we probably have about 200 to 250 going to entry, and then it's less going into this. It's probably like in the 150, but past this line, guys, it drastically drops. From here to here, we probably are looking at 50 kids. And then from here to elite, we're probably looking at 20 kids. And then from here to team, we probably are looking at about 10 kids. And we go from 300 down to 10. All because we don't have a gym full of coaches that are coaching with intention, that are coaching with purpose, that are coaching for the goals, that are trying to get this stuff done. I'm so glad that I was able to do this video. I'm going to do a test. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you've been here for 12 years. I don't care, like, anyone that is part of this facility that is watching this video should pass this test. And it may be on the timeline on how long it takes to go from one level to the next. It may be on the level that they represent. It may be on the maybe the evaluation skills that it takes. Like whatever it is, this is something that has to be known, that you have to know. And I definitely encourage you practicing talking to somebody else about it, right? So like if you're one of the advanced coaches or sparkling coaches, I would practice teaching some of the beginner coaches, some of the new coaches. Take them through this, because the more you talk about it, the more you understand it. And once you understand it, guys, it brings so much clarity, and it brings so much more like, because you know that there's a plan, and you know that it's possible, and you can start kind of trying, like you start seeing it and it appears easier, and it's not this like huge, daunting, impossible task. Now it's just like, I can do this. Like, I just gotta follow my leader. I gotta like put my faith. I gotta put my, like, trust your leaders, because if they're correcting on your class quality or your class control, then believe me, you probably are not gonna hit this mark if you don't have good class control. If you are getting spoken to about for not clapping, like this is your bell clap, like yeah, like you are probably not the coach that is making this happen, because you would know that if your kid got a skill, you'd be like, yes, good job, right? That might not be your kid, but you know what that does for coaches. You know how much work got put into making that skill. So this would not happen. It would be more of like the, yeah, good job, because you know what it takes, because you're trying to do this, and your staff, your fellow staff mates are trying to do this, your coworkers, like everyone is trying to do this stuff. Yeah? Thanks for watching.